Hi and welcome to Rhetoric. In today's episode we are going to talk about the 486 socket blaster from Scrap Computing. This is my story, how I got mine to work, and it was not an easy road to take. So and because I had some feedback on my Twitter tweets and my Facebook page and a couple of forums, I decided to make this video as easy as possible for me, with no editing, hopefully, to show you how I got this 486 socket blaster to work. But first, what is the 486 socket blaster? Well, as you can see, it fits in a socket, a socket 3 or a socket 7. And what is it used for? Well, the main purpose is to convert 5 volt to 3 volt, or maybe the other way around. Basically what you're doing is that you can then use a 3 volt CPU in a 5 volt socket. It also adds a couple of extra features with the pins at the side here. You can set the multiplier, override the multiplier setup from the motherboard, and you can even set write back if you want to write through or write back, or if you want to use the settings from the motherboard itself. So that is what we are going to talk about today. And instead of using many hours editing videos afterwards, I've decided I want to use or make this video as a presentation. So I've gathered the pictures and some video I took from when I made the socket blaster, and I'll basically go through them just like in the old days when your friends and neighbors came back from holiday and wanted to show all the pictures they've taken. So let's see if this works and doesn't drag out too long. So here we are. This is the 486 socket blaster with the DX4 100 MHz inserted in a socket 3, and it's working. But it was not an easy road to take. So let's start at the beginning. So the beginning. Yes, it's working. It looks like it's working. This is a screenshot from YouTube. As you can see, it's Epitronics channel. And this started for me by watching this video from Epitronics, where he used a 486 socket blaster that he made himself to improve the speed on an old PS1, IBM PS1 machine. He actually got it pretty fast, and as you can see from the text, the subtitle, it's now 3.6 times faster than the original machine. So I watched this series of videos on that IBM PS1, and also I was inspired by WeSwitch0, who made a video on secrets in AMD CPUs. Short story: some of the latest produced AMD CPUs are actually better than what is written on them. More on that later. So the socket blaster is created by a guy who calls himself Scrap Computing. You should check out his GitHub page. He has several other very interesting products. And so what did I do? Well, I sent an order to PCBWay. I just uploaded the Gerber files that I downloaded from the GitHub page, uploaded those to PCBWay, and got a very cheap, I think I paid like €5 or something for 11 PCBs. Actually, I only ordered 10. I got one for free. And here you can see a picture of the bottom and the top. And here I've started to solder, and soldering is the key. If you want this to be a success, you need to set off a lot of time to solder. I did not do it properly, spoiler alert. One more picture here from the soldering, and more on that later. I also decided fairly quick that I could not use this big tip that I'm usually doing or soldering with, and I had to change to this smaller tip. Even then, it was quite hard to get a good solder. And as you can see, I used my microscope also. And a little trick I learned to get the pins on an exact 90-degree angle on the PCB, you had to push in. So I just use a couple of rubber bands to push on the side where I'm soldering now. And this was a fairly good trick that helped me a lot. And here we are, it's soldered. It looks not too bad. I was at least happy myself at this stage in the process. And the bottom, and you can, if you see any, if you look at it from the bottom as we do now, you will see all the errors if you have done something wrong with the soldering angle. Here are some more pictures where I inserted just actually a DX2 processor. I only did that to test if I could get a CPU in the socket without destroying any pins or anything, and it worked actually. It was a bit fiddling, but not too hard. Actually, it went rather good. More pictures. These are just bragging pictures. And then it was time to test it. So I found myself a 486 motherboard, and I turned that on with a processor, with a 5-volt processor, without using any 486 socket blaster, just to make sure the machine was working. And poof, this capacitor blew up in my face, basically, so I had to fix that. When that was fixed, the machine was working with a DX2, 486 DX2-66, and everything was fine. The motherboard is set for, the dip switches there are set the bus for 33 megahertz. And that's the CPU I tested with. So we know the board and everything is working. So I inserted the 486 socket blaster into the socket. Was also quite fiddling to make it fit the first time. Later when I tried, it was much easier, of course. So the first thing we do is to set the voltage on the voltage regulator with a very tiny screwdriver. And as you can see, I set it to 3.5 volt the first time. The reason I gave it a bit more juice, 3.3 is what it's supposed to have, was because I saw videos, people online gave it a bit extra, especially if you wanted to overclock it as I wanted. Anyway, short story or long story short, it didn't work. So then I started looking over my soldering. Actually, at this stage, I had not cleaned any of my soldering with flux cleaner or acetone as I use. And so I couldn't see the soldering all too well through all that flux. So I cleaned it off, and then I saw this. Of course, I fixed this one soldering, but then I also start thinking, what about all the other pins that it's impossible to reach now? Are they soldered perfectly? Probably not. So already at this stage, I was thinking I would probably never get this, at least this one, to work. When checking some more, I also found this piece of metal wedged in between the pins and short-circuiting at least 3 of the pins. So I was also starting thinking I've destroyed my motherboard and the CPU. but luckily I didn't. I put back the DX2-66 without the socket blaster, and the machine worked fine. So at least I hadn't destroyed anything important. So that was part 1, or chapter 1 of my story. And basically what I did after this, I still had some PCB left. What I didn't tell you is that I tried a second time, also failed. And then I decided to just send the PCBs to 3 of my friends here in Norway in the retro community. And I gave them a kit, and I said, if you make both of them work, you send one back to me. If not, well, you tried. Probably had some fun doing it. But before I heard back from any of them, I got a new package from PCBWay. A package which I had already forgot I ordered. Just 1 second, I'll find some new videos here. I'm actually using VLC to play the pictures and the videos, and here we are. Yay, full screen. We are back again. It looks like this actually, using OBS Studio and running VLC in full screen, looks like it's working. Anyway, chapter 2. So, chapter 2, which I had almost forgot I had done, was I ordered 5 486 socket blaster finished, assembled from PCBWay. And I had to say, I had no I did not believe that PCBWay would actually pull this off and solder it properly, because after trying myself, I knew how hard it was. You can also see the amount there, $114, so it was not cheap, but I really wanted the socket blaster to work. I have 3 machines I want to use them in. So this is what they sent me when I sent the order, an Excel sheet with the part numbers, and they wanted me just to check that everything was in order. And I checked it, and I had some help from a friend who knows more about electronics than me, and he said this was okay and good to go. So I pressed the OK, and after a week or 2, they sent me this picture. And as you can see, it's not good at all. You can see it's a big gap here between the pins on this side, and here, down here, they are not touching each other in 90 degrees angles at all. This is a second picture they sent from underneath, and a third picture. So I sent this picture back to them and explained them how it should be done. I also sent them a link to Scrap Computer's GitHub, and I sent them a link from Epitronics, where he soldered it on video. And after a few more days, they sent me this new picture. Let me see. Yeah, these 2 pictures. And wanted my OK, and I was thinking it's not perfect, but it's not far from it. So I okayed it, and 2 weeks later I had this one. So this is one of the 5 486 socket blasters that I received from PCBWay assembled. And it was a lot more easy to fit in the socket 3 on my motherboard than my own try. So, so far so good. It was set to 4.6 volt when I got it, and that was of course not what I wanted, so I switched that to 3.3 this time. And I used the same CPU as I tried with my first try. and it's a DX4 running at 100 megahertz. And the jumpers on the socket blaster were set to the default settings, 1 to 2, on the right back and the multiplier. And the big question is, did this work? And yeah, some more pictures before we see the result. And the result is here. It worked. And to my surprise, it actually did not show 100 megahertz as it's written on the CPU, and did not show 486, but it said this is a 586 running at 134 megahertz. And the reason for that is that the pin the jumper was set to 4x multiplier. And as you remember, the motherboard was running at 33 megahertz on the bus. So we got 134 megabytes. And of course, I set the multiplier to 3x just to see what it said. And then it said that it was a 486 DX4 enhanced or an AMD 586 running in 3x clock mode. And yeah, that's sort of true. At the bottom there, it says is write true, so I changed the jumper to write back mode, and voila, we had write back. And then it was time to test this some more, and I run the 3D benchmark, first in 100 megahertz mode, and we got 28 frames per second, and then in 133 megahertz mode, and we got 2 more frames. But I guess the bottleneck on this machine is not the CPU, but the graphics card. Then I tried some Doom tests and some Quake, and I got parity error. Did some more testing around the voltage, but the voltage looked perfect. 3.29 is probably as close as we can get to 3.3, at least with this voltage regulator. But then I started thinking maybe it was something with the RAM, and it was. Half of the memory was 60 nanoseconds and the other half was 70 nanoseconds. I think that was the issue, so I replaced it with 16 megabytes of RAM as running at 60 nanoseconds. And then we could run SpeedSys for the first time. That also crashed with the older RAM. And we could get further proof that it's actually a 5x86 and the speed is just where it's supposed to be. And we also in the corner down here, we can see that it has actually 16 kilobytes of cache, and everything works just as we should expect. And then I could run the Doom test, and everything worked fine. Yeah, and pictures. I took a picture before and after inserting the CPU. So it was the voltage regulator on the socket blaster was set to 3.376. And when inserting the CPU and then turning on, of course, the computer, we got 3.32. So that is actually not bad at all. So it's like 0.05 volt. That's very good, much better than I expected from a cheap voltage regulator. Or maybe it was not that cheap at all. I don't know how good the quality from PCBWay is. Anyway, I was very happy to see this result. So then I tried, I should have a video here, no, okay. My second attempt did not work, and no, this was my second attempt. My first attempt, I skipped that somehow. My first attempt did not work. This was the second attempt. It worked. I was so glad. So I tried the third socket blaster that I received from PCBWay, and it started smoking. Yes, smoking from this area. I don't have any videos on that, but yeah, it's never a good sign. So I thought that for sure the motherboard and probably the CPU is a goner now. But actually nothing was destroyed. Actually not even the voltage regulator. I tested it. I desoldered it and tested it. More on this third attempt later. Let's continue with the fourth attempt. And that was a success. For my fourth attempt, I used this DX2-66 megahertz. It's also, as you can see on the date there, it's produced in 00, so it means 2000, the year 2000. So it's fairly late in the lifespan of these processors. So I was hoping I could overclock this to 100 megahertz. I put it to 3.3 or as close as possible with this voltage regulator. And here I made just a small video. I can't remember exactly. Let's see. Yeah. So it went from 3.31 to 3.304 and it works in 100 megahertz. On my first try, the multiplier was set to 3x and it's working. So far, we have tested 4 of the CPUs, socket blasters from PCBWay, and 2 of them are working and 2 of them are not. But we have 1 more to try. Also tested it here some more in and a new picture and some more pictures of the voltage. As you can see, the voltage drop it's negligible. Wow, that was hard to say. It was very little. So I was very surprised. Of course, I ran the speed source test and everything looks fine, just as it's supposed to do. And then we have the 5th attempt. And yeah, that is the only thing I have on this 5th one. It did not work. The processors, the 2 of them that did not work, I have not checked more into for now. I'll look some more and do some measuring between pins and see if I can find something that is possible to fix. But what I did, I went back to the smoky one and replaced the voltage regulator board as we see on top here. And while talking about the voltage regulator board, I had to do one fix on all the 5 socket blasters I received from PCBWay. They were mounted too high, so they would actually hit the bottom of the CPU. So I had to desolder them all and just press them further down. I had to press it further down on the PCB, on the socket blaster PCB, to make room for it underneath the CPU. Anyway, back to this one. I replaced the voltage regulator with a new one, actually one from the 2 socket blasters that did not work at all, and I tried again. And yeah, I tried again and it did not smoke. As you can see, I did a video this time because I was thinking, yeah, if it made smoke the first time, maybe it will do the same the next time, but it did not. So far, so good. I inserted this time a DX4, Intel DX4, running at the 3 times 25 megahertz, so 75. Because I was not very afraid of this CPU, if it should be anything wrong with it, or should go bad from the socket blaster, I mean. And it worked. So actually, the third one that blew up in our face, after replacing the voltage regulator, it worked. And as we can see, it is running at 75 megahertz as it's supposed to, and it's the multiplier is 3x. The 3x, the bus speed, that is 25 megahertz. But I don't have video of it. Yeah, well, I have, there it is. As you can see, it's set to 3.3 volt. But when the CPU was in the socket and working fine, the 3.3 volt, as you just saw me measure, showed 4.6 volt. Yes, it showed 4.6 volts, and the CPU worked, but it got very hot. So then I started measuring pins to see, and a lot of them shows 4.8, but that's actually quite okay, because I've learned later that some pins are 3.3 and some are supposed to be 4.8. So what I'm doing now is actually doesn't help us much at all. Yeah, did some more tests just to see if it was working, and it was actually working, but it was still getting 4.6 volts instead of 3.3. I tried turning the voltage down without the CPU in, of course. I tried to turn it down to 2.9 volt. It still showed 4.6 when running the CPU. I went even further down to 2 volt, inserted the CPU back in, turned the machine on, and it showed 4.6 volts. But it still worked, but the CPU was very hot. So, well, that's the story on the socket blaster that smoked. I have no idea how this is. So the natural test, you would probably say, why don't I try this 486 Intel 75 megahertz in one of the other 2 socket blaster and give it a try there? Or why do I not take one of the AMD CPUs and try those in this socket blaster that we are so uncertain of? Well, I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to destroy the other socket blasters or the CPU. I know they are working, and I need them for other projects, and I need one more to work. So our AMD 486 100 megahertz is on the way in the mail. So if you follow my Twitter account, you will probably see a tweet regarding that when I get a new CPU to try out. Yes, so let's do some a summary. These 3 CPUs or socket blasters are sort of working. The one to the left, it's a AMD 486 DX2-66, and we ran it perfectly in 100 megahertz mode, and I had Quake running for 3/4 or so. So I would say that that is pretty stable. The AMD 486 DX4, we ran at 133 megahertz in 586 mode. Also ran that for about 45 minutes in Quake, and it ran good, no issues at all. So I would say that those 2 socket blasters and those 2 CPUs was a 100% success. The one to the right, I'm not sure about yet. It is probably something wrong with the socket blaster, but it could also be that Intel DX4. Because, yeah, I didn't mention that, because I actually tried afterward. I took that Intel DX4, which is rated for 3 volt or 3.3 volt to be exactly, and I put that directly in the socket 3 on this motherboard without a 486 socket blaster. And you know what happened? It worked. Exactly the same as it did with the socket blaster. It got extremely hot, but it worked. As long as I had a fan and a heatsink on, it worked for a long time. I didn't test that long actually, but at least 20 minutes it was working fine. So I don't know, maybe something strange with the Intel DX4. Is that supposed to work on 5 volt? Probably not, but mine did. And these are the 3 that didn't work. The one to the left is the one I soldered myself, and the 2 to the right are from PCBWay. So 2 out of 5 did not work on arrival. I will do some more testing on these 2 later, but for now I just wanted to share my findings with you so far. But the story is not over yet. Yeah, this is just 2 nice pictures of the socket blaster that did work and the one that didn't work. And here, this video was sent to me from a friend, one of the guys I sent my PCB kits to, and he sent me this video where he got the socket blaster to work. Actually, both of them, I sent him 2 PCBs and he got both of them working. And one of them he made with an external voltage regulator. And as you can see, it looks quite neat. As you can see, he's drawing the 5 volt from the socket blaster and making 3.3 volt and sending it back to the socket blaster. And of course, you have at least 2 very good things happening when you have an external voltage regulator. One, you probably get a better quality one because it's larger. And the second, you can, of course, fine-tune the voltage much easier without having to lift out the CPU from the socket all the time. So I actually like this setup very well, and I will probably try something like that on the 2 voltage regulators that don't work. And here we have still a picture of the same voltage regulator. Okay, I'm just looking at my notes now to see if I've skipped something. No, it's good so far. So, I hope this video was okay. I've made it a bit different than what I usually do, with a lot of filming and a lot of editing, and yeah, it just takes too much time. I would rather spend time making things like this, making them work, restoring old machines, than making videos. I'm sorry to say it. Sometimes it's a hassle to make videos, but it's also fun because you get in contact with more people and they reach out to you because you have a YouTube channel and are using forums. And I really enjoy that. So I hope you still will get in touch with me. If you have any question about my doings with the 486 socket blaster, just reach out. I'll try to answer as much as I can. And yeah, that's it. Well, one thing I should say, I should thank Jostein for helping me out. He was a big help because when he got 2 of the socket blaster working himself, it gave me more courage to try more on this myself. So hopefully one day I will actually build one from scratch. But for now I will enjoy the 2s that are working and try to fix the 3rd one. And then I have enough for the 3 projects I want to do. Okay, I hope you liked this very long video. I hope it was not boring you. And if you like this video, or maybe even if you didn't like this video, please subscribe to my channel and hit notify or notification so you don't miss out on any of my YouTube videos. Thank you for watching.